There are two different conversations that we're having here that I think are important to separate. One is the impact of this decision on constitutional law. The other is the impact of the decision on the real world. With respect to the impact on constitutional law, I actually tend to agree with Will that this is a fairly modest decision. There is some novelty in the application of this equal sovereignty principle to these circumstances, but look at the language that the court uses: rationality, logical relationship, relevance. One might disagree, as I do, with the application of this standard or these standards to the facts of this case, but I think supporters of the Voting Rights Act should be grateful that the court didn't go further and at least purports to apply the McCulloch test here. In terms of the impact on the real world, this is, to my mind at least, the far more important conversation for present purposes. And here, I think the impact is significant. Maybe not as earth-shattering as some of the immediate commentary might tend to indicate, but significant. In two respects. First, with respect to local jurisdictions, as has already been mentioned, where otherwise not many people are going to pay attention. It's going to be awfully expensive, and it's probably not going to happen that litigation will be brought. The other is with respect to burdens on participation, not just voter identification, but also things like early and absentee voting and registration practices. And it is simply not the case that Section 2 will be an adequate substitute, in my view. This is largely because of the burden, where, with many of these practices, the empirics are going to be unclear. It's not going to be certain at the time that these practices are adopted what impact they will have. What was significant about Section 5 is that it placed the burden on the state or local jurisdiction to obtain preclearance. Now, having said that, and I don't want to leap too far forward into what will be our afternoon conversation, but I do think it is important for us to think not only about race-conscious remedies, but race-neutral remedies, about burdens on the vote that affect everyone. I'm not saying don't think about race-conscious remedies, but I think it is important for us not merely to focus on the race discrimination model, and to think also about the possibility of pursuing new remedies that might look at burdens on voting regardless of which voters are affected.